All right, we are looking at lesson 99, absolute value inequalities, negative numbers, absolute value.
It's 7, right? Oh,
I can
no.
see blue right there.
It's 7, guys.
I think I'll be below on the test. So it'll be this time.
Okay, well then be quiet so we can get going.
If she didn't say.
All right. Absolute value of x is greater than 5. What numbers, when you plug them into the absolute value, are greater than 5? Greater than 5? Negative 6. What's the absolute value of negative 6? 6. Is that greater than 5? Okay. So negative 6 works. What about negative 7? Does it? Negative 8, etc. And of course all of the positive numbers, right? Absolute value of x is less than 5. Are these numbers less than 5? What about these? Because the negative drops off, right? You see how that works? So do you see how on some of them you could possibly have 2 areas that you're shading? And then on other absolute values you may only have 1 area? Okay, I'll wait for y'all to draw that. And then we'll move on. You don't have to draw all the numbers between negative 10 and 10 if you don't want to.
Me too, because I didn't eat lunch.
Why didn't you discuss it with someone else? None of your friends? None of your friends are here? Or y'all don't have the same lunch yet?
Well,
Sean's with a bunch of boys I don't know.
yeah, so you don't know.
But you know Sean. So she can't sit with y'all?
Oh, she doesn't. She'll be so like, please.
Okay. Alright, whatever. So, going off of the same thing from the last slide, if it is less than 3, it means numbers that are greater than negative 3 and less than 3. The way that you do this, one of them, numbers that are positive, do the absolute values affect them? So if it's positive numbers, that's just your inequality. But there are some numbers that are affected by the absolute value, right? Like negative ones. And so the way that you do those, you have x, you switch the sign, and you make it a negative 3. And that's where those two come from. So that's where you get the 2 things. One of them, just drop off the absolute values. The other one, you flip this sign and you add a negative. Or if it's already negative, what do you make it? You make it positive. Well, yeah. Yeah, isn't that what we have here? X is greater than negative 3, and x is less than 3. That's where those two came from. Yeah, I just made them. I'm showing you how you get them if you're only given the absolute value. Looking at this one, what would be the first one?
Oh, I did.
X is greater than 3, right?
Yep.
And then how would I get the other one? X is less than negative 3, which we already have, right? That's where they come from. You see how to get the 2? Okay. Well, look in here. I'm just going to draw negative 3 and 3. What numbers are less than 3? And what numbers are greater than negative 3? They work for both, right? They're in between them?
Yeah.
But this one, they go opposite. And so that's one has to be or. You see how that works? Okay. Whoop. Okay, so let's look at an example. 4 is less than or equal to, x is less than or equal to 4. What is the first inequality? X is less than or equal to 4. What is the next inequality? X is greater than or equal to negative 4. You graph both of them. Both of them have to apply. Okay? So do I put a circle or a dot? Okay, at negative 4 and 4. What numbers are less than or equal to 4?
4,
3, 2, 1. Okay. What numbers are greater than or equal to negative 4?
3, everything in between.
Everything in between. But am I going to do my whole line? Why am I doing dots? Because it's integers. Correct. If I had done this on the whole line, that would mean it was real numbers. Y'all see how that works? Any questions there? So this one means that and this, because it applies to both of them. It really doesn't matter about the and or. It's just how you actually graph them.
Yeah.
Looking at another example. This one's a little bit different. Well, I don't want him to teach y'all wrong. And I'm not saying that you know it wrong, but if you get it wrong, then they're going to have learned it wrong. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not saying that you're going to do it wrong. But there's a chance that you might do it wrong. Okay. Alright, so first off, is our absolute value by itself? So we need to get the absolute value by itself. So what would he do? Okay, so what does it become? Do y'all see how that works? Okay, now that the absolute value is isolated, we can continue. What would be one inequality? X is less than 3, or what? X is greater than negative 3. Do you see how that works? So, do we put dots at 3 and negative 3?
No,
We don't do open circles? Why not? Okay. So what numbers are less than 3 and greater than negative 3? Yeah. Negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. Do y'all see how that works? Okay. Looking at another example. I don't know why reals, half of it's not italicized, so I don't know what happened to it. What do we have to do first? Okay, so what do we need to do to isolate the absolute value? Okay, so what do I have? Negative absolute value is less than negative 4. Now what? Do you agree? Now what? X is greater than 4. X is less than negative 4. So what do I do? Okay, do I do a circle or a solid dot? Why open circle? Because it's not equal to. Yep. Y'all were going on with that. Y'all had forgotten. You already knew it wasn't equal to, and because it was reals, we were going to include it. Sort of. Now what? Okay, so do you agree with this? Do I need to go over it? Any questions there? Okay. Looking at one more. Actually, well, two more. But
Tricky. This one's easier. But I get it wrong. Okay, this is what. I know this is. That's all I'm saying.
Typically trick people like
okay. What would I do? My absolute value is isolated, so what do I do? Okay, what numbers work for that? I have negative 2 and 2.
You're gonna draw a circle, and you're gonna go out.
Like this? I don't agree.
You don't agree? Why'd you let me write it on the paper?
What?
they go this way. Watch. This way.
No.
That's annoying.
I'm confused.
Would you have to divide by 1 and then flip the sign? I don't know, crap.
Absolute value of x. Pick a number.
31.
3. Is that less than negative 2?
Oh, it's a false statement.
No.
Wait.
Negative 1.
Okay. Absolute value of negative 1.
It's not.
It's not. It's always 1. 6. Wait, no. No, it's no solution.
Why?
It's just not working.
But why?
Because it's an absolute
Because
value to
whatever
make
you
it
get
positive.
it's always positive.
Is there ever any way for an absolute value, a positive number, to be less than negative 2? Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh. Mind is blown.
Do you see how that works? Okay.
So we should always
I
test
get it now.
Well, whenever it's absolute value and a negative number, yeah, you want to check.
Or let's like say more. This is greater.
Okay, let's look at the next one.
Yeah, it works.
Okay, absolute value is greater than negative 2. What would be your 2?
X is greater than negative.
Okay, what numbers are greater than negative 2 and less than 2? Okay, what about 15? Absolute value of 15? Is that greater than negative 2?
You go this way.
You go that way. And you started either two, you go back.
Everything.
Dang it.
What is greater than negative 2? Everything to the right. Right? Do you see how that works? It shaped everything to the right, but what is also less than negative 2?
Everything to the left.
Everything to the left.
Everything but 2 and
And everything
But-
between.
But is it negative 2 and 2?
No.
Because it got overlapped on whenever it was going to the left, and then this one got overlapped when it was going to the right.
So everything is still is
Still, yeah. So everything on your number line works.
Oh my gosh.
Every number, when you take the absolute value of it, all positive numbers are greater than -2.
I have a feeling this exact question is going to come up on the test.
Probably. Yeah, probably. But what you need to be careful about when you have an absolute value and an inequality and then a negative number, you really need to be careful on those. The rest of them are fine. See, we have just a positive number here, and so it worked out just fine. Positive number here, we're fine. Positive number there, we're fine. But it's whenever you have just a negative number, you have to be careful. Either they don't work at all, or they work for everything. Does that make sense? So it's one or the other. You can put no solution. You can also do something like that.
You put 0 slash.
But how your first one looks perfect and the second one was like crap.
Yeah, I can't draw the right side.
Can you do
I've
that?
never been able to.
Perfect. No.
Yeah, you can also do that. It does both of those.
I like
I don't care.
We'll go 0.
Or no solution. Any of the three. Any questions on absolute value graphs? Okay.